We did that research in Kilifi. Before now, we were distributing the COVID vaccine to the whole world. And at that time, we were not we were going to see what the outcome was going to be, the risks, you know. And many people these days are saying, today everybody is saying, I'm not the same. Before this COVID vaccine, I think but that time, of course, they overate or something happened, but they decided it was that Shindano. So somebody is taking risk on behalf of somebody else, you have to go the extra mile. Unfortunately, in some researches, there's no benefit. It's for that dot Prof. Nani was talking about. It's for knowledge, you know, in some researches. So what you need to do is to be very sure to tell them that it has got no benefit. But if it has got no benefit, at least can we minimize the risk? So we continue. We talk about non-maleficence. So again, you can see Prof. Nani's name here. These are just from her slides. Beneficence, again, easier said than done. To whom are benefits owed? What benefits? To what extent should one suffer harm for the benefits to be realized? Difficult questions. And you'll be reviewing proposals, and you have to, in your head, you need to ask yourself these questions. Whether those benefits, who are they to, what are they, and how, you look at the harm. In a study where there is no benefit, check the harm a lot. Because if you're not going to benefit, then you should not be in a very much worse situation than you were before you came into the study. So you can improve a person's well-being, you can maximize possible benefits, minimize possible harms, ensure the study design is adequate to derive benefits from results. Somebody talked about the results. So at the end of the day, when you're reviewing a proposal and you're looking at benefits, you look at the expected outcomes and you say, if this thing was to be realized, are these benefits actually sufficient? You ask yourself. Then you can look at the risk-benefit analysis. You can look at whether the study was properly designed and whether the risk is justified. That is actually the total work of an ethics committee. What is going to come out of this study? Who is it going to benefit? What are these people going to go through for this benefit to be realized? If the risk is too high, then you say, I'm afraid you cannot do this study. So I remember one time we got a proposal from a hospital in the Rift Valley, and they wanted to use liquid nitrogen to kill cells in the throats of people that did not have cancer, but had that thing doctors call what? Dysplasia or something. The cells are already showing signs that they could be cancerous. So they were taking people who are pre-cancerous, and they were feeling, if we destroy these cells before they can grow and become cancer, then we'll prevent these people from getting cancer. But the liquid nitrogen is at a temperature of negative 186. Liquid nitrogen burns. If you put it here, it will burn this cloth. It's so cold, it can make a hole in things. So when we saw that, we said, okay, you can kill these people, then they'll never get cancer because they'll be dead. That's what we were thinking in the ethics committee. What's going on? We were like, what? So we knew that cancer is something we didn't want them to have. So if it worked, it would have been an awesome benefit, isn't it? Then we said, but if it's going to work by killing them, it's not going to be how will it benefit if you're dead? So that proposal took a very long time.
I have a question on that interesting intervention. Normally I would assume like such an interesting intervention would have passed through the phases of, has it been done in animal models? So that maybe we are now in phase 3, phase 4. I don't know if that
they did all of those things. They had gone through all of those models. They had sent us all of those papers there, but we were still afraid of our research participants. And we just told them, guys. So eventually, after a long time, they had to show us the machine. They had to show the way it was precise. They had to show us very many things. They told us it's not that you're pouring a cup of liquid nitrogen down somebody's throat. It's doing how many microliters. It's a very small amount. They told us the person who's doing it had done it before. They are very expert. They showed us other studies where they did all of that. And then eventually we said, okay, We will now, instead of, because normally we give approval for a whole year, we only gave approval for 3 months, and we asked them after 3 months to send us a report to see how it was going. So that in case we could stop it anytime. So we did not give them the full year because we are like, yes, we are convinced you know what you're doing, we are convinced it's probably not as risky as we thought it was going to be, but can we do it every 3 months? And that's how it went. And eventually, it didn't really give them the results that they hoped when they followed up the people. And so in the end, it was a long-term study where you feel that if you had, you follow them all up for a long period of time and see whether they did actually develop cancer, and you also follow them up to see whether there was any adverse events that occurred and safety issues and so on. So this was a while back. If you're going to ask me what did happen in the end, I'm not very sure, because we had the next meeting and we did another proposal. Now it's 20 years later. But the point of the matter was, if you're going to be dead because of a benefit, then it's not a benefit, isn't it? So that's what you're trying to balance. The risk and the benefit. The risk and the benefit. And remember, the risk hasn't happened and the benefit hasn't happened. So you're trying to look into a crystal ball, as it were. So there are 4 principles of beneficence, as you can see there. Should not practice evil or do harm. So when you look at Nuremberg, you can see many of their studies in Nuremberg were actually, the outcome was death. They just wanted, they literally were quite happy people died. And you cannot do that today. One should prevent evil or harm, one should remove, one should practice good. So all of these things are the things that you're trying to do when you are saying, talking about beneficence. And I think what we've done here is that we make the inherent. So when you're reviewing the proposal, that's what you're going to look at. And then for non-maleficence, it's the opposite. I don't know if anybody watched was it a cartoon called Maleficent? It's a cartoon. Then maybe you are doctors when you don't watch cartoons. But there is a cartoon that had that one Maleficent, which was crashing also. So non-maleficence is what counts as a harm according to you, how much harm is okay given the benefits. So back to my story of the liquid nitrogen, we were trying to see how much harm. If the harm was going to kill them, we didn't think it was going to be possible, but the fact that there was a benefit of not getting cancer was also a very big benefit. But again, none of these things have happened. Can you imagine? You are actually reviewing things which have not happened, and you're trying to cast your mind into the future and see how it will go. Okay? So that is non-maleficence. What counts as harm? I know that people do social behavioral research, and I've had many students who say there is no harm in my study because I'm only asking questions. Have you heard that one?
Yes.
What is a difficult one? So let me just say this. When you ask me a question, do you go away with your question? Once you've asked me a question, what question can you ask me now?
What's your name?
That's a easy one.
How do you feel about your life?
That's a hard one. So you asked me that question. How do you feel about your life? And my neighbor and friend, they were just telling me she's going to teach me something by the time you go back. It's a term in sociology called saturation. So you can, as a human being, oversaturate yourself. You have too many things you're doing. You have one part this, one part this, one. So I'm saturated until now I can't move. So if you ask me, how do I feel about my life? I start thinking about that. Because she's telling me that because I was calling home. Calling home. And I actually wanted to talk to my 1-year-old grandson who doesn't talk. Still a problem there. Small problem. Talking to somebody who doesn't talk. Okay? So, if you ask me what I think about my life, all those things I've just said start entering into my head, isn't it? And at the end of the day, I'll answer your question, isn't it? I'll say, oh, I think my life is like this, like this, like this. But when you go away, what have you left me with? That question. So I really feel that social behavioral research is even more dangerous than taking blood from my arm. Kunja mkono, you tie something here, they say you feel a small prick, they move, and they go away with my blood. That is better than leaving me with a question. So harm, when it comes to social behavioral research, can be higher than this other one of drawing blood. Because you leave me with a question, and I can assure you, scientists ask all kinds of questions, especially when you're in the HIV area and we're trying to flatten the curve of HIV and we're trying to find out what is bringing this HIV. We used to ask people questions. How many times do you have sex in a week? And we are not blinking at that. When you have sex, do you use a condom? That sex that you're having, I hope you're all adults here. Are you adults? You little children there? Lillian and Diana. So I'm not putting funny ideas in your head. When you have sex, is it vaginal or anal? Can you imagine? We ask. And why do we ask? Because eventually we found out that anal sex does what? Transmits more HIV than vaginal sex. And we found out we had a key population with men who had sex with men. How would we have known if we had not asked that question? But did we not leave that question with those people? So what's your obligation then, as a researcher? What is your obligation when you ask people such deep questions? You've gotten your data, you've published, you've been given congratulations by your fellow researchers. When you write a paper, when you write for another grant, you can write that you've published that paper and you get that other grant, and very soon you're being called an expert. What's your application?
I think one way to reduce harm is to ascertain confidentiality in getting such critical and vital information.
Might say I'm tempted to think going back, like afterwards. So that would be more with interventional studies where now the aftermarket surveillance and all that. But where a question is concerned, like you said, it stays with them. And I'm not sure going back to see what harm was left in the question. Yeah, but maybe there are those kind of studies where going back to see what harm was perpetrated and see if you can ameliorate is one way of sorting that out.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just thinking, if we already have an idea, asking such a very intimate question, would I have this compound and mental health effect? Would it be reasonable to do some surveillance, let's say in 3 months, 6 months, and not, you could do surveillance if possible, but also just to provide an avenue for these people if, those questions are very heavy, they can get a professional like maybe through counseling. Likely maybe sponsored by the researchers.
We have to be sponsored by you guys, the ones asking the questions for sure. Yes, well done. Counseling, going back to find out what harm you did. Yes, yeah, put up your hand.
Yeah.
You were once upon a time the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. We don't know when you were born, so you have that hand. Yes, welcome, Prime Minister.
Now, as you go for data collection, there's a point where you want to introduce the concept, tell them the extent of your study. Now, I think at that point, you can also emphasize on privacy, because privacy will guide you on how much you can obtain from the participant. So it could also be an intervention at that stage.
So you can talk about it before you ask the question. And you've seen that in informed consent documents, that some of these questions might make you what? Uncomfortable. And you also see them in the consent documents that you can stop at any time. You're not obliged to continue. If you feel like having enough of your questions, you can actually stop. I hope I didn't preempt you, Dr. Paul. You can put up
Your Excellency, I was just going to make the comments that letting people, the participants, feel empowered
Yes.
to withdraw
Yeah.
their consent at all times is
Yeah.
really, really important.
Yeah.
But once they get the question, even
Yes.
if they don't answer,
It's still in the
the
head.
question is still in their head. But at least they have the power to say,
Yeah.
I'm not
I've had enough. I've had enough of these questions. Oh, the hands are flying up. So I've heard your voice, Mr. Eli, then you, then Bonakia. Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say also it's important to have local supervision
Yes.
because it's context dependent.
Yes.
Somebody from one culture might say it's fine, you ask about death, it's no problem.
Yes.
You expect.
Yes.
Some another culture might say, are you kidding? Like,
Are
it's
you
not-
kidding me?
You can't leave someone with that question.
Yeah.
So you'll need to
Oh
understand
yeah.
that context.
And just to go on that point, when you're trying to do research on people who have had miscarriages, people who have lost babies, it's just a disaster. Yeah. Because it's too much. It's too much. Too soon, too much. Anybody watch Number Noah? Nobody. These doctors, they are very straight and narrow. Yes?
I think that for such portion, it's better to consider and limit. That one will help you to have idea about the sensitive question.
Yes.
Like sex.
Yeah. It is anonymous. All of these things are before. Now, but I'd like you to tell me that since you've left a question in my head, what can you do for me? You've told me the informed consent, I can stop at any time. You've told me you will come back after 6 months, but now I've been living in that question in my head for 6 months. All of the things that you've said are okay. There's one thing I'm looking for. Yes.
I'm wondering if this is a case where it would be appropriate to say that you might offer some counseling
Yes.
sessions should the things you were exposed to in the study have some sort of psychological or emotional effect on you.
Yeah.
You will have some of these resources where you can get some help.
Yeah. So actually, Kenya?
Well, I was looking at an African form of society where such sensitive questions can be taken as an abomination. So, abomination.
And abomination.
Is accepted. And I thought
Yes.
then that we could use some inducement, not necessarily material, but verbal, so that we can get the response more easily than when we don't blink as we are asking, where we avoid authority in questioning. Thank you.
Yeah. Clearly, your research team, your research assistants, clearly would have to be very well seasoned. Clearly. For some of those studies. You're not going to take just somebody who did Form 4 the other day. Yeah, no. You're not going to do that. You're going to take somebody who's a bit well seasoned. And I have been interviewed by those well seasoned interviewers. And as you say, they are very gentle. So gentle that you don't have difficulty answering the question. But if you get somebody who's not experienced and they do it with a hard eye, it's very complicated. But the one I was just looking for was all debriefing. Okay? After you finished your study, after you finished asking these questions, at the end, you can have a session where you just do the debriefing, and that is again where we sometimes say, for some of those very sensitive studies, can the person asking the questions be the counselor? Okay? Or be the sociologist or the anthropologist. People who now can now sit down and then do a little bit of debriefing afterwards and just give the person some perspective so you how do you feel when you're answering these questions, because you don't want people leaving saying that I'm a bad person. That was not the point of the exercise. It was not to say that you're a good or a bad person. That is totally irrelevant what type of person you are, but you tend to start thinking that way. So I'm just raising that because many students will say that my study has got no risk because I'm only asking questions. Of course, if you're just asking, do you eat mangoes, do you like mangoes or oranges? That might not be. Again, it's contextual. You're not going to do all of these things for all questions. Some questions are very straightforward. Does the sun rise in the east? Surely, why did you debriefing? It does rise in the east, okay? Okay, people who believe the world is flat have a different idea, but there you go. So, justice. Justice is something which is a little bit difficult to explain. And even me myself, I'm still struggling with justice. What can you see in that? What are those photos showing us? Now I'm going to ask if I can remove my jacket. I'm so hot. I'm feeling very hot. But I was taught as a teacher, you have to look like a teacher. So I'm going to, please forgive me, I have to remove my jacket, I'm melting, but I'm still your teacher.
You left the question in our hand.
Yeah, so I'm going to look very informal. I'm sorry about that, but yes. But that's not really consent, but I need to wait for you to say I need to remove my jacket. But some kind of consent I was asking. Yeah. What do you see in these photos, but these days I think we're calling them forums. We try to have American accent, so we say forums.
I think judging by the dress, these are a religious sect, the ones on the right, and there is a child who looks, I don't know
This
if
is
it's
a child.
I don't know if it's a child truly, but there's someone there
Yes.
who seems alone.
Seems alone.
Yes.
So let's just say that that is not a sect. The Catholics will collapse and die. That those are Catholics. Catholic nuns. We're not going to call a sect. Okay. You could see how somebody has changed their face here. So those are nuns. Yeah. Nuns. Yeah. And this was okay. Does anybody recognize this picture? Yes, sir.
It's, I don't know how to call it, but it's an interview without, it's,
Anonymous, yeah, trying to hide the face. Yes. True. But can anybody recognize this picture? Can anybody recognize the place? Can anybody recognize what this picture depicts?
It's like a slum from,
It's a slum.
reminds me of slum environment.
Yes, it's a slum environment.
Is it there?
It's not Kibera, but it's a slum environment. What is this lady doing?
Maybe,
No, you have to go there because that's what it is.
maybe child prostitution or something.
It's not quite child prostitution, but you're getting close. No. Can you please save us? Can you remember where that picture is taken? That's a picture of?
It's in Majengo.
It is Majengo. What is Majengo known for?
Sex. And there was research, actually I had that story.
Yeah.
I removed it.
Yeah.
You can tell about it.
Yes, Majengo. When you are born in Majengo, you say, when I grow up, I'm going to be a prostitute. I am not casting aspersions from Majengo. It is historical. So once upon a time, there was some people called the British who came to Kenya. Before it was even Kenya, they came to East Africa, we call the East African Protectorate, and they were building a railway. But they also brought their army to protect the people building the railway. The army were mostly men. They looked for prostitutes all over East Africa to come and serve their soldiers. But many of them settled in Majengo. So historically, in Majengo, the work is prostitution. This is a prostitute. They just sit outside their houses with their hangers, even sometimes with their buis, and all they do when the men were cutting across to go to work in industrial area and to come back, all they would say is karibu, karibu, and karibu would mean that you will enter the house, do the business, leave your money and leave. And continue to work. When you're coming back from work, it's like taking a Panadol when you have a headache. When you're coming back from work again, karibu, and so this is an area known for sex work. This is where she left out the slide, but this is where a lot of research was done, again by Oxford University, because some of these prostitutes were not getting HIV. They had HIV, sorry, they were not getting AIDS. So they would be positive for HIV, but they were not getting AIDS. And they wanted to study them because they thought they were going to get what? A vaccine. It didn't work. Okay? So this is an area where they are, sorry Kenya, so sorry. Some of my examples I want to do it sex, and we're all in a different WhatsApp group from everybody else here. But that's when it comes to research, that's the way.
I am okay.
Yeah, okay. You might be wondering why I talk to Kenya a lot. Because it's the lay person. I've been training for many, many years, and I realized, in fact now, when on parent we have a lay person's training. When you see the application, please apply for him. We would teach but we teach at the level of the doctors. And there was one time a lay person came after a whole 3-day training and told me she didn't get anything. I was so sad because I had concentrated on. So that's why Kenya, I'm always saying Kenya, because if Kenya understands, actually don't Kenya understand. If Kenya understands, I'm happy because I'm pretty sure you've understood. So Kenya, always put up your hand and I'll always refer to you, not because of any reason, but because you are my unit, my SI unit. Because once he gets it, we are good. Because it's the person presenting the ordinary magical. Okay? So it's very important that he gets it. So this is Majengo, known for prostitution. These are known for what?
Syllabus. Okay.
Clearly not prostitution. Whatever they are known for, it's not prostitution. Now you're doing a study in HIV. Where are you likely to go?
If you go to those convents, you'll be Chester.
Is that fair? It's not fair to go to Majengo and looking for study in HIV. What have you done when you've gone to Majengo to look for HIV?
Well,
You have some sort of bias.
No, it's selective sampling.
Also,
Yeah, you build it into your methodology. Selective sampling. It's not random.
if it's already known, like you're saying, Majengo is characterized by such, then you're just being real. You're like,
you're just being
I think
Yeah.
you're being real, but then also there's a lot of assumption in there. Because who says that? I mean, HIV doesn't have a face, right? So who says that she's not HIV positive? So I get what you're saying too, but the assumption is not always necessarily correct.
And I liked what Eli says, you build it into your protocol. So the research ethics committee members need to say, oh really? So you decided, and they'll give you all of those papers saying how much HIV is here, and that's why you're going to find it, which makes sense. Right, but who says? But they may not have looked to see how much HIV is on the other side, right? And it could be quite a bit of it. But you know, again, you have a time limit for your study. So you should just go. I mean, if you hear there are many fish in Lake Victoria, why are you struggling to look for Lake Victoria? Just go to Lake Victoria and get a fish. Don't tell me. Move on with your life here. But maybe the fish in Turkana also wants some help, you know. Who knows? So that's one point. We do it all the time. And we agree it's scientific methodology and then Mario is going to come and tell you all about that. Oh, what does that mean? Oh, my batteries are running low. Now, the fun thing is, the place where it shows this is the same place where you charge. That's the fun.
We to go in here.
Oh, look at me. So this. Okay, when it goes off, we don't think. Let's see. Because my computer is funny. This likes to be charged with this. It should be charged. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. The light has come on. Oh, excellent, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. So there might be as much HIV there as here, but definitely look here because you're okay. So that is first one question, that you've made some assumptions and that you have characterized people. And so now, this place where you had a lot of HIV, they are the ones going to take the burden of your research, isn't it? They're the ones who are going to take the burden of your research because they're in the research. But who is going to benefit? Who will benefit?
Most likely.
These ones.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can explain justice when it comes to ethics. You are distributing burdens and benefits. But often what happens, the burdens always go to one place and the benefits go to another place. And you heard Nani talking about high-income countries and our collaborations and all that kind of thing. And it's a very difficult thing, and I'm glad you're new because you will learn how to push back a little bit. Because it used to be, because we brought the money, yeah, this belongs to us. But you can push back, and you'll hear things like, hey, Chogoria, They don't want development. They are enemies of development. We were going to bring them a brand new way of doing something. We were going to bring them a brand new device, and they refused. But why have you refused? Because you realize we are not going to benefit. Why would you do it if somebody else was going to benefit? And there are so many things that actually don't work the same here as they work anywhere else. So burdens, benefits. And you've decided that these people can